Welcome to the Crystal Zone podcast with Kyle Russell of Crystal Concentrics. Our motto is Crystals for Life. And we are back. So says a podcast presenter that I listened to a lot recently. Between commercial breaks, but we're not going to be doing commercial breaks except maybe something introductory and something at the very end, and it's usually pretty self-referential to ourselves or to someone close to us in the sort of self-help world. Now, this is episode number 11. We have not done a podcast since mid-2021. That is a full 3 years ago. And you might ask yourselves, where has Kyle been? I actually ask myself that too, because I see the blog postings and the podcast listings, and I say to myself, gosh, do I really have nothing to say to this particular audience anymore? And of course, I do have plenty to say, but there were a number of reasons why I was kind of quiet for 3 years. And it began with my intensive work on finishing and releasing my book, Crystal Energy, Understanding and Working with Stones for Clarity and Flow. I'm super happy with how the book came out. And even 3 years later, I don't think it needs an edit or a second edition or any kinds of improvements. It is a solid statement of where I'm coming from and what my teachings are. In addition to having put the book out, I have stepped up my presence at shows. I've got more shows on my calendar than ever before. I somehow am scraping together half an hour here to address you because I am very, very busy, and it's surprising I have any time. I've had literally 4 shows, 4 weekends in a row here in November of 2024. And so I'm pretty busy preparing for those. And the big one, of course, is Tucson. After COVID, I went back to Tucson in 2023. I did the Pueblo show, but decided that I wanted to come back to 22nd Street, where I had been successfully in 2020 and where I am looking forward to being at again now in 2025. Now, last year, 2024, earlier this year, in January, I did the Tucson Gem Show at 22nd Street, and I was feeling it out because it takes a lot of work and a lot of money to appear for a show like that. And I asked myself, is this worth it? And it was literally going to be my last show in Tucson if it hadn't gone as well as it did. Basically, you're competing with 300 other vendors, many of whom are direct importers from the country of origin for the stones that they're carrying. So they might have all Mexican material or all Chinese material. And so for me, as someone over here who's importing those things or purchasing those things here, how do I compete with them? And the way that I do it is I've put myself in the showcase tent, which is a little bit fancier, more upscale. It's a bit more of a comfortable and I would say less bizarre type of atmosphere, which I think is more conducive to thoughtful shopping. And I also have a great spread of products that can appeal to folks just wanting to get something more affordable, and to other people who are willing to spend more on special display pieces that I make sure to have stand out in my display so that they don't just get lost in the mix as happens so often in those other booths that are out there. I'm consulting my notes here, which I never ever do on video. I'm still putting out videos actually, and all of my videos are single take videos. I have been putting two of those videos every week into my newsletter, which I recommend you subscribe to it over at crystalconcentrics.com. And my newsletter basically features what shows I'm going to be attending, which do not appear on my website. They only appear in the newsletter. And I also provide you a link to two of my latest featured videos from YouTube specifically. So over the past 3 years, I have stepped up my output on YouTube, and I do have over 10,000 subscribers there. And one of the sort of revolutionary things there is they have, I think they're called shorts on YouTube, but all of the 1 minute videos that I've been putting out on TikTok and then feeding to Instagram, I put also onto YouTube, and they've gotten a surprisingly large number of views and a consistent number of views, which is very, very cool. So in these past years, I've built up my YouTube presence. I've introduced videos to my newsletters, which I did not used to have. Of course, I have the book out. I've stepped out my appearance at shows, and I have also um, started to. Oh my gosh, I've lost my train of thought, and I'm going to tell you why I've lost my train of thought here. Because I have in my notes here something that I really wanted to talk about, and sometimes I shy away from it because I don't know how people will take it, and they think of me as a sort of spiritual leader in the crystal world, and therefore, why should I have or share any political perspectives? And I feel that as a well rounded human being, it would be irresponsible of me not to share some of my political perspectives. I think that the political landscape has become dramatically more toxic since 2016, and there was a little bit of a respite from that after 2020. But now, with the most recent election, literally a couple of weeks ago, we have seen a what we could call a sea change. I don't know if it's that much of a sea change numerically because the popular vote, was really quite close. The electoral results were a bit more of a landslide, and the Senate and the House have both flipped. And so a lot of progressives and liberals, which you can rightly imagine I am, were freaked out by that. However, a lot of the analysis that is resonating for me about why this election cycle has brought back someone like the past and future president is that many, many Americans are unhappy with the way that identity politics has sort of taken over the political landscape. And as important as I think expanding rights and progressive agendas are, my big issue is where people's desire for inclusiveness has invited into their tent people who are very, very illiberal and opposed to Western values in the extreme, such that a battle has sort of begun between the sort of fascism of the right and the fascism of the left, and also the type of embrace of terrorism that we are seeing across the globe, which is sort of indicated by a rise in anti Semitism. So people who have an issue with Israel's right to exist and defend itself, are now lumping all Jews into that category and targeting Jews worldwide. And it's just an indicator of things to come. The violent protests, the destruction, the fact that they do not carry American flags, that they burn flags and intimidate and chase people down is something everyone with any conscience, including and especially progressives, should become mindful of. So that's my little detour into politics. But also, I want to say that October 7th specifically and the aftermath, instead of people having compassion and outrage regarding what happened, too many people showed delight and support for what happened that day. And personally, it put a real kibosh on my own energetic and spiritual output and inspiration. And so I kind of went quiet and I didn't put out as many videos. And I have been exploring putting out more kind of political content, or at least what I call social commentary regarding what I see going on in the world, because I think it's really important for us, especially spiritual people, to not remain silent and to speak up for what we think is right, but to do so with intelligence and knowledge and true education about history and projecting where some of the trends are trying to take us as a planet. So that definitely slowed me down, but I'm glad to be back doing a podcast, this time for the first time straight to video, because why not? I'm going to get a text transcription of it, which I can post into a blog. And I am realizing that a lot of people, including myself, like to watch podcasts or at least listen to them on YouTube. So that's a good thing. I want you to remember that you can find me on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram with my @CrystalConcentrics handle. And I hope you'll subscribe to our newsletter through our website, crystalconcentrics.com. We have, over the past 3 years, updated and upgraded the amount of items that we have for sale on our website. I had, in these past 3 years, also made some forays into doing lives and online selling capers. And it just was tedious and time consuming and didn't really seem to produce results. So I still prefer actually going to shows and interfacing with people personally. And I have my store that's been open every day of the year, except for the biggest holidays, in the afternoon. So we only open from 1 to 4 p.m. because that's when most of the people have been coming to the shows, to the store. Now, I'm realizing I'm possibly already up past 40 minutes, which is unheard of for a podcast, so I apologize for that. I just really wanted to make sure that I covered some ground, explained my absence from the blog and podcast world, shared with you what I have been doing, and in closing, I wanted to share with you how I stay in touch with the crystal energies, because one of the big things that I've learned over this period is to focus less on what excites me. For example, I bought tons and tons of Moldavite when that was the thing, but also I love Moldavite, and now I'm stuck with a lot of it because the demand has decreased. It was somewhat of a fad, and the market for serious ongoing Moldavite buyers is a great deal smaller than we might wish it were. I'm wearing a Sugilite, and that's pretty much my go-to stone nowadays, more than even the Moldavite, because it's all about manifestation and sticking to my knitting and pursuing what is most important to me in terms of manifesting in my business and closing out the debts from creating this business and amassing such an incredibly large inventory as I have. Um, and um, and so my focus in terms of sales over the past 3 years has also shifted. And now what we do is we focus more on affordable jewelry and not so much pendants. I was a big fan of pendants, so I invested heavily in pendants. But right now I'm finding bracelets are selling more easily. They're cheaper, they're more accessible, they're more understandable, they're less of a statement, and they're more easily integrated into the everyday person's life. And likewise, everyday people are drawn to stone carvings of figures that are familiar to them, cats, dogs, etc. And so that has been an important part of my sales inventory, is focusing on some of those things that I find a bit more accessible to people. Spiritually, the way that I stay in touch with the energy of the crystals is I have continued, and I realized just now that we have 12 years continuous of running meditations, and some portion of that period has also included online meditations. So every month I offer an online meditation and also an in-person meditation at the Portal Crystal Gallery that we have in Arlington, Massachusetts. So I think I'm going to do a separate blog or podcast that updates an older one that I did regarding what happens during a crystal healing meditation, because I think it's really important to educate people about what goes on in these meditations and why they are useful and important for you. So stay tuned. Please subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. And hopefully, some of my political perspectives didn't shock or surprise you. And I can certainly demonstrate that they're consistent with my overall liberal and progressive views about supporting people of whatever type and origin they might come. So thanks for watching. This is Kyle Russell signing off, and also those of you listening and even reading for this episode number 11 of the Crystal Zone podcast. Thank you much. Bye-bye. I'm going to find that recording thing. There we go. Till soon.
You're in tune to the Crystal Zone podcast, talking all about crystals for life, and you might wonder where would be a great place to buy crystals. Well, we have a warehouse and storefront, the Portal Crystal Gallery in Arlington Center, Massachusetts, and you can have a look at all our displayed items, and also, if there's something of interest, we have an extensive backstock. In any case, if you're more distant and you want to work by email and phone, we are happy to serve you through our quality custom crystal mail order service. A portion of our inventory is up at crystalconcentrics.com, but you should definitely email Kyle, K-Y-L-E, at crystalconcentrics.com with any questions. We can send you videos and show you all kinds of items which we have not yet had time to upload onto the site. Looking forward to hearing from you.